10 things in the UK that make absolutely no sense to Americans. The UK and the US may share a language and plenty of history, but daily life can feel surprisingly foreign once you cross the Atlantic. For Americans, even the simplest things, like plugs, toilets, or traffic, suddenly become mini mysteries. Brits see them as perfectly normal, but visitors are left scratching their heads, Googling explanations, and wondering how people live like this every day. From endless tea breaks to baffling bank holidays, let's count down the 10 things in the UK that make absolutely no sense to Americans. 10. Drinking tea at every possible moment. Tea in Britain isn't just a drink, it's practically a cultural glue. Whether someone's celebrating, consoling, gossiping, or simply bored, the automatic response is, "Shall I put the kettle on?" For Americans, this constant devotion to tea is puzzling, especially since coffee reigns supreme across the US. The numbers tell the story. The UK consumes around 100 million cups of tea daily. That's not just habit, it's heritage. Tea became deeply rooted in British life during the 18th century, when it shifted from being an expensive luxury to a household staple. Over time, it became the nation's emotional reset button. What makes it odd for Americans is how tea is treated not as a morning boost, but as an all-day ritual. A builder might take tea breaks on the job site. Office workers often pause for tea mid-afternoon. Even in moments of drama, the kettle goes on. For a culture that runs on drive-through coffee, this quaint yet universal tea obsession is charmingly baffling. 9. Bank holidays that aren't about banks. The term bank holiday throws many Americans for a loop. It sounds like a day when banks alone close their doors, but in the UK it means a full-fledged public holiday. The name dates back to the Bank Holidays Act of 1871, when banks were legally required to shut on certain days. Over time, the idea spread, and now it's simply shorthand for a national day off. To Americans, this feels unnecessarily confusing. Why not just call it public holiday? After all, in the US, holidays are named after events, seasons, or people. Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, Martin Luther King Jr. The UK, by contrast, clings to the old banking term, even though banks are no longer the main reason for the closure. Adding to the confusion, bank holidays can affect daily life in unexpected ways. Shops may open late or close early, train schedules might change, and entire cities can feel quieter than usual. For American tourists, this unpredictability feels strange compared to the more standardized rhythm of US federal holidays. And yet, Brits wouldn't dream of calling them anything else. 8. Toilets in tiny cupboards. If you're staying in an older British home, don't be surprised if the toilet isn't in the bathroom at all. Instead, you may discover it tucked away in a separate little room, a WC water closet, with just enough space for the toilet and a roll of paper. This design dates back to Victorian times, when plumbing systems and hygiene concerns encouraged separating sanitation from bathing. While many modern homes and new builds now combine the bathroom and toilet into one room, the toilet cupboard remains common in older houses, pubs, and some hotels. For Americans who are used to bathrooms being all in one, the concept feels outdated and awkward. Why not keep everything together? Yet, there's a quirky charm to these little WC rooms. Some are so small, you have to maneuver carefully just to close the door behind you. It's one of those things that feels inconvenient at first, but quickly becomes a funny travel memory. 7. Queuing as a national sport. Few cultural quirks define Britain more than the art of the queue. In the UK, lining up is treated with near-sacred respect. There's an unspoken rule: you join the end of the line, you wait your turn, and you never, ever cut ahead. For Americans, who sometimes take a more casual approach to lines, This level of discipline can feel excessive. Yet Brits are so committed to queuing that surveys often cite it as one of the country's defining traits. In fact, the ability to queue politely is seen as a marker of good manners and social order. What's even more remarkable is how queues seem to form naturally in Britain. At a bus stop, for example, no one rushes forward. Everyone instinctively knows where to stand and in what order to board. For an American, watching strangers silently maintain this unspoken order is both impressive and bewildering. It's not just waiting, it's a national sport. 6. Plugs with on-off switches. For Americans, plugging something into the wall is simple. Plug in and power flows. In the UK, however, there's an extra step. You have to flip a little switch on the outlet itself. If you forget, your laptop, phone, or hairdryer won't charge, no matter how long it sits there. This feature isn't about being awkward. It's about safety. British sockets follow the BS 1363 standard, which includes built-in switches designed to prevent electric shocks and reduce wasted energy. It's a system widely considered one of the safest in the world. But for Americans, it's confusing. Visitors often tell stories of leaving their phone plugged in overnight, only to wake up to the same low battery because they didn't flip the switch. Once they adjust, many admit they wish the US had the same safety feature. Still, that initial bafflement is part of the UK travel experience. 5. The TV license fee. Perhaps one of the most surprising British quirks for Americans is the TV license fee. In the UK, households must pay £169.50 per year, 2025 rate, if they watch live television or use BBC iPlayer. The money funds the BBC, keeping it free of commercials and independent of advertisers. Americans often find this baffling. In the US, TV is either free with ads, bundled with a cable subscription, or streamed through services like Netflix and Hulu. The idea of paying a separate government-mandated license to watch television feels completely foreign. The system has its supporters and critics. Fans argue that it preserves the BBC's quality and impartiality, funding everything from David Attenborough documentaries to world-class news coverage. Critics say it feels outdated in the age of streaming, though reforms have been debated in Parliament. But regardless of opinion, it remains a legal requirement. For U.S. visitors who are used to choosing what they pay for in media, the TV license is one of Britain's most head-scratching institutions. 4. Black cabs and their turning circle. London's iconic black taxis aren't just famous for their look. They're also marvels of engineering. Despite their size, they can pull off incredibly tight maneuvers thanks to a 25-foot turning circle. This requirement was originally designed so cabs could spin around in front of the Savoy Hotel. On top of that, every black cab driver must pass the knowledge, an intense exam memorizing thousands of streets and landmarks. For Americans used to Uber drivers relying on GPS, the combination of skill and vehicle design is both baffling and impressive. 3. Calling the first floor the second floor. Here's a classic. In the UK, the ground floor is at street level, and the first floor is one level above. In the US, the street level is the first floor. The result? Confused American tourists lugging bags up a flight of stairs, only to discover they're on what Brits call the first floor. This numbering system is standard across much of Europe, but for Americans, it feels like being cheated out of a floor. 2. Taps with separate hot and cold handles. Few things shock Americans more than finding two taps in a sink. One blasting scalding hot water, the other freezing cold. This quirky design stems from older plumbing, when hot water was stored in tanks and wasn't safe to drink. Separate taps kept the supplies apart. While modern UK homes now usually feature mixer taps, the double tap system is still found in older properties, pubs, and heritage hotels. For Americans, it's impractical, unless you enjoy performing finger acrobatics to mix water in the basin. 1. Roundabouts everywhere. And finally, topping the list of 10 things in the UK that make absolutely no sense to Americans. Roundabouts. The UK has over 25,000 of them, making it the roundabout capital of the world. To an American driver, they feel like chaos. Judging speed, yielding, merging, and choosing the right exit, all in one move. The infamous Magic Roundabout in Swindon, with its 5 mini roundabouts circling one giant one, looks more like a prank than a traffic system. Yet, roundabouts actually reduce accidents and improve traffic flow. Brits navigate them with ease, while Americans often approach them with sweaty palms and sheer disbelief. From quirky plugs to the national love affair with tea, these little cultural oddities may seem confusing at first, but they're also what make Britain. Things in the UK that make absolutely no sense to Americans are the stories you'll remember. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.